The Minnesota Vikings are 5-1 and most people have no clue how. As this league drowns in mediocrity, Kevin O'Connell's squad is seriously positioned to go on a championship run in year one of his tenure as head coach. The roster didn't endure any drastic changes, no grandiose quarterback switch. This new regime didn't try to win fans' hearts in free agency. Cleansing the franchise of all things Zimmer and rebuilding a completely new culture was the focus. Into the 2022 season, our two-parter explored how O'Connell was doing this internally and, unsurprisingly, the volatility of one, Mike Zimmer, is what seemed to stun folks most. For months, current players had been speaking as if they were free from the wrath of a ruthless dictator. But when it's Terence Newman who's being so honest, the state of the union was clearly far worse than anyone realized. This tough as a -$3 stake cornerback played for Zim, coached for Zim, seemed to outsiders as a Zim guy yet is also one of the most sincere ex-players in existence. He shared that players dreaded going to work and that the effect was contagious. If players are dreading getting cussed out and shit like that, he said, then it's going to make it a long day for everybody. Closing parenthesis. O'Connell made curing this virus priority. The Vikings are now Super Bowl contenders. We know players now wake up with a smile on their face, but how exactly does that smile manifest into victories? Look no further than one of the happiest members of the team, third-year cornerback Cameron Dantzler. The team's turnaround is best reflected in his turnaround. The 2023 third-round pick out of Mississippi State brings everything Newman detailed to life. Under Zimmer, he felt like a robot. Under O'Connell, he found his mojo. He's a difference maker on one of the NFC's best defenses, and the reason why is this seismic culture shock. We can drone on and on about analytics until the cows come home. We can study the all-22 footage over 3 pots of coffee. Football is not quantum physics. Dantzler looks like a new player with 34 tackles, 4 pass breakups and 1 forced fumble through 6 games because, bluntly, he's playing with a free mind. He brings to life the sort of culture talk that can sound opaque. There's an upbeat tone to his voice. He's thrilled to drive to the facility in the morning. I got my swagger back, Dantzler says. They have faith in me with what I can do and they make me play freely and be me. Nobody, Dantzler begins, knows the inside story. There was more to it with me and coach last year. Outside looking in, you really don't know as much. There was a lot going on last year. It was a roller coaster for me. There's no need for us all to again swim in the sewage. It's not much fun reliving just how miserable life was under Zimmer's reign. But to understand Dantzler's breakout season, it's inevitable. He needs to bring up the last 2 years. As a rookie, in 2020, Dantzler believed he was truly turning a corner through December. Yet into the 2021 offseason, Dantzler popped his quad. He suffered a grade 2 tear and tried to fight through it when players reported back for OTAs in June. He didn't want to miss anything and, as all players know, it behooves you play through injuries under this head coach. 2 days later, on June 8, the team signed 8-year veteran Bashaud Breeland and plugged him in as the starter opposite Patrick Peterson. Fresh off back-to-back Super Bowl appearances, with 95 career starts, Breeland was deemed more trustworthy before a true competition was even held. They brought Breeland in and I feel like they just threw me to the side, Dantzler says. Am I good enough? I was questioning myself, just coming off I wouldn't say, great rookie year, but toward the end, I improved a lot. I had that confidence and swagger into year 2, and then when I got hurt, it was, okay, we don't need him anymore. Let's throw him to the side. I felt abandoned. Everybody tried to make it seem like I was out-battled. Breeland is a great player, but I don't feel I was out-battled. My spot was given away before it was even fought for. He's going to be the starter. He's going to be our guy. They just threw me to the side. He describes Zimmer as a DB guy. They used to speak every day. Over time, he felt nothing but a general coldness. He can remember straight up asking Zimmer, "Coach, you don't mess with me anymore because I am injured." The head coach's response, "I don't talk to guys who are hurt." Okay. Those words came out of his mouth, Dantzler says. People like my personality. He's an old school type of guy. Not that actually playing in this defense was a bundle of fun. Dantzler started 10 games in year 1, 7 in year 2 and the thoughts running through his mind mid-play were exactly what Newman described. To a T, he was downright terrified to make a mistake. He played an instinctual position on eggshells because Dantzler knew one misstep would get him destroyed in the film room. There was no operating on feel or instincts. That's the biggest change in 2022. It's as if a burden was completely lifted. Dantzler feels zero pressure before games now. Because you know yourself, he explained. Just go out there and show. I feel like I don't have to be a robot anymore. I felt like, if I mess up, I might get taken out. I can go out there with confidence and swagger like, hey, ain't nobody catching anything on me today. That's how all young players felt the same way, he adds, because every single step was hyper-scrutinized. Players were accosted in those film sessions like they broke a law, which naturally zaps spontaneity. That's a major reason why this defense broke down so many times late in games. In part 2 of our series, ex-Viking linebacker Ben Laber, who works as a sideline reporter for the team, specifically cited Dantzler as the player who'd benefit most from a new culture. Too often, it appeared Dantzler was a split-second slow in coverage before. If there's one player on a football field who cannot afford to tap the brakes, it's a boundary cornerback trying to shadow wideouts with 4.3 speed and every conceivable rule in their favor. Think too much, let a blip of hesitation enter the mental equation, and you're toast. When I say robot, it makes you not want to make plays and be a ball player, he says. He told me to do it this way, so if I don't do it this way, he's going to take me out. Or like at practice, he told me to do it this way, so if I don't do it this way, I am not going to play. So it turns into, I could have made that play but my coach told me to do it this way. Several sources indicate that how the Vikings treated injuries in the past was borderline reckless. It's no coincidence that this team struggled to stay healthy. Overhauling the strength and conditioning staff was a must. One of the most underrated acquisitions in the entire league was Minnesota stealing Tyler Williams from the Los Angeles Rams. He oversees the entire operation as the team's executive director of player health and performance. Understandably, Dantzler is still bothered by how Zimmer treated him when he popped that quad. Seriously, he adds, all of these players fighting for you every day, we're all fighting for our jobs. The new staff arrived and Dantzler felt his swagger return. Join our community at Go Long. Free and pay options are both available. That scared corner who misplayed a coverage to hand the Detroit Lions their first victory of the 2021 season is nowhere to be found. With this new team, new staff, in a new No. 3 uniform, Dantzler was exceptional in coverage against the New Orleans Saints in London and then made the game-winning play against the Chicago Bears by stealing the ball right from the hands of ex-Viking receiver Ihmir Smith-Marsette. He's no robot in coverage. Twice a week, he's even heading to the home of 8-time Pro Bowler Patrick Peterson to watch film. They only live 4 minutes apart. Dantzler also points out that Durante Jones is back as his defensive backs coach after spending last season at LSU. He loves new coordinator Ed Donatell's scheme, and he raves on, and on, and on, about head coach Kevin O'Connell, he says, brings that swagger, that juice, and, as a younger coach, he's able to relate to everyone in ways older coaches simply cannot. No, he will not be demeaning injured players anytime soon. Dantzler says the head coach's connection with players was immediate. This season, something deeper is also driving Dantzler. The tragic death of his good friend, Jeff Gladney. They were drafted by Minnesota in the same 2020 class, and, last spring, Gladney was killed in a car accident. His girlfriend in the vehicle was also killed. Traveling at high speeds, his Mercedes SUV crashed into a pillar. Dantzler did not believe the news initially. When he found out on a flight back to Minnesota, he assumed his ex-girlfriend had the wrong person. The rest of the flight, he couldn't receive any pictures, only texts, so he remained in disbelief. Those pictures were grisly. Out of all people, he told himself in horror, Jeff Gladney? To this day, it doesn't feel real because they were so unbelievably close. They always kept each other motivated. Dantzler calls Gladney his right-hand man even though they weren't teammates for long. Gladney was released by the Vikings on August 3, 2021 after being indicted for domestic violence. He spent the entire season out of football before being found not guilty in March 2022. When we all saw Gladney's name in the headlines for the wrong reasons, Dantzler says Gladney's demeanor did not change. He maintained his innocence. Once Gladney's name was cleared, he signed with the Arizona Cardinals and was eager for a fresh start on life. One memory is still seared in mind. When they were rookies, Gladney lost his grandmother, flew to the funeral, and returned the Monday of the Vikings game to play. He'll push himself through anything. Dantzler is dedicating the 2022 season to his fallen friend. Even if I feel like I can't play, Dantzler says, I am still going to push myself to play because that's what Jeff would have done. He never missed a practice. I had to dedicate the season toward him. To this day, it doesn't seem real at all. It's not too complicated, either. This is what dedicating a season to a friend means to Dantzler, in his words. Fighting next to my brothers and making plays, pouring my heart and soul into the game. That's something he would have done. The result in this post-Zim society is one of the NFC's best cornerbacks. Dantzler's ascent should give the Vikings real hope. It's no stretch to say he has outplayed the cornerback that the rival Green Bay Packers inked to a 4-year, $84 million contract. He's certainly more physical than Jair Alexander. While it's always Dantzler's goal to hold his wideout to 0 catches, he takes most pride in the physical side of the sport. And he knows what you're thinking. He hears people laughing that he's so thinly built that it looks like Hellbreak. Despite his 2-pencil stature, Dantzler is more than willing to throw himself into running backs. It's second nature, honestly. Since he started playing pee-wee football, at age 4, Dantzler has loved hitting more than anything else. I had to hit, Dantzler says. His first adversary on the field was a running back aged 6, maybe even 7. In an Oklahoma drill, a kid he fondly recalls as Deshaun trucked him in the Oklahoma drill. Dantzler cried, took his pads off and returned to his grandmother's house across from the park. When his dad stopped over and heard Cam say the kids were hitting too hard, he told him to chop them low. They can't run without legs, Dad said. The next day, young Cam called the same kid out in the hitting drill, took his legs out and has been bursting with confidence ever since. From that day forward, it was a switch, Dantzler says. He's not afraid of contact. That's not normal at his position. Now, the bar is set sky high. Cameron Dantzler sees no reason why he cannot join the elite of the elite at his position. The kid Zimmer disregarded as damaged goods is allowing himself to dream. I am talking Jalen Ramsey level, Dantzler says. I feel like I haven't shown my game yet. I am knowing the ins and outs of the defense more each and every day. I just feel like once that switch hits, it's going to be scary. Dantzler sincerely believes he'll be the best corner in the sport. Such an attitude is necessary as a defensive player in today's NFL. Passiveness gets you. If that official is throwing the flag regardless, you might as well make a mistake playing fearless, fast. It's either me or you, Dantzler says. That's just how I feel. There's no other option in his mind. He lets the wide receiver across the line of scrimmage know very early in a game, in both actions and words, that it'll be a long day. Dantzler enjoys fishing, riding horses and runs a kennel business on the side. In the off-season, he even hosts dog shows. Above all, he's trying to set up his 4 kids financially for life. Dantzler has 2 sons and 2 daughters and they're all 3 years or younger. His oldest is into karate right now, but, considering he's already 44 inches tall, Dad thinks basketball will be in his son's future. There's good news on the horizon, too. The boy's mother just bought him Bluey pajamas, which means Bluey, a good show, may soon supplant Cocomelon. Straight up crack. Reaching Ramsey's level sure wouldn't hurt support his family. The Rams corner shattered the market with a 5-year, $100 million contract. Winning a Super Bowl would help, too. He believes this team can make such a run. One reason is this new culture allowing players to flourish in every conceivable way. We lean on each other, Dantzler says. We trust the guy next to us. The few years I've been here in Minnesota, it wasn't like that. It was like a guy versus this guy. We all came together this year. The culture that the new staff is building, it's a great feeling. Granted, the good vibes of a new culture can wear off. After a 1-5 start, the Detroit Lions, and everything Dan Campbell has tried to build, is being tested. As much as things appeared to change in Detroit, the results have not. Here, players are bound to buy everything O'Connell sells because they're seeing it translate to wins. It's not always pretty, but the new Vikings keep winning the sort of games the old Vikings found a way to lose. Late in the 4th quarter, they're making the plays that were so non-existent seasons past. Clutch plays from guys like Dantzler. Last week, Dalvin Cook was the hero with a 53-yard scamper to the end zone to ice a 24-16 win over Miami. None of this is an accident.